Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Screen Chronicles. With me, I'm Steve, and with me, as always, is Colby of Carcadarn. And today we are talking about episode 2. No, I lied. 3 and 4 of the Winter. We're talking episode 3 and 4 of the Winter King. Everyone, I'm sorry for that.
What accent was that you were trying to do?
No, I don't know. But we were talking
Welcome.
episode 3 and 4, Winter King,
Yes.
here on the Screen Chronicles.
This is The Winter King by Bernard Cornwell, the show that's based on his novels.
Yeah.
Um, we're going to talk a little bit non-spoilery first, just real briefly, real briefly. And then we're going to go into our spoiler talk here for the third and fourth episode of the show. Apologize for being a little late on these releases because Steve's been going through a move. I'm going through, or I was traveling a little bit.
I'm going through some traveling.
I had to go through
It's been
some
a real
traveling,
tough time for me.
unfortunately.
Getting cultured and seeing things and having fun.
Oh, it's terrible. But we're back at it now, and we're excited to continue to cover the show.
Yeah,
Steve,
that's probably the format we'll keep too. Is probably 2 episodes, and there's going to be 10 episodes of the Winter King in this first season. So we'll stick to 2 per our podcast episode. So we'll have 5 of these Winter Kings. So if you haven't heard our recap of 1 and 2, check that out, and then eventually we'll have 5 and 6 out next. But yeah, it's non-spoiler thoughts though. I'd say there are some things that I was complaining about in our last talk.
Yeah,
that they've now brought in. So there's some things.
Yes,
that they're doing.
I remember the moment, the one you're thinking about right now, that we really didn't like that wasn't in the first couple episodes. We'll get to it in a second. And they did it, and I just thought of you, and I thought, oh, he's going to be so happy. I don't know.
Yeah, it's so and so that's good. And too, and for people listening, we're not going to talk any episodes after the ones that's in this episode discussion. We might reference the ones before that. But anyway, though, I'm happy that they're doing some things. It's just kind of out of order, which the Last Kingdom show itself did a lot of things out of order from the books and changed things. I still love that show, obviously, love the books. To me, though, these books are more specific, more gospel. So when things do get changed, I am a little bit more like, oh, I don't know if you should do that. So I'm glad some things are coming in.
And we talked a lot about how we didn't read the Last Kingdom books before we watched the show, and we made a point not to once the show kept coming out because we found the show first. Whereas we loved the show so much and we wanted more Bernard Cornwell stuff, we read these books, and now we have these expectations for the show, which we talked may be a little unfair because you just cannot put everything from these books in the show.
But the thing is, though, with the Last Kingdom books, it's not always pushing like the overarching plot forward. Every book is kind of just like, sometimes books in the Last Kingdom's saga are just like an Uhtred adventure book. It has nothing to do with England forming, Uhtred getting Bebbanburg, anything like that. But his Warlord trilogy it's a trilogy. It's only 3 books. It's this awesome historical fiction epic that I'd say it's pretty tight. I don't think there's any fat you could really trim off of any of them.
Exactly. And I would say there's been some things that have happened that make, and I obviously I know what happens in the books, and the way the show's going right now, it makes me say, well, okay, so I guess they're not going to do that cool part in the book the way the show stands right now, because it's impossible. So I mean, I can specify on that. Maybe not later. Just don't want to spoil anything. But I would say, they are doing some things a little differently. But the last episode, they definitely came back to the book in the last episode with what Gunleus did, with what he thought was Mordred, and it was pretty darn accurate in some of the descriptions of how they did things.
Yeah, there's a lot of moments, some of the best moments from, and that should be another thing to help them stay on track with the books. A lot of the best moments from the show are coming scenes straight out of the book. If you're thinking that crazy moment with Gunleus in the village and him killing the baby and the baby being someone else's, that was all from the book. So I mean, that to me is why they should stick. And like my analogy again, if you think about like the Harry Potter books, you know, you could probably like get rid of like Chamber of Secrets or condense Chamber of Secrets and I love Chamber of Secrets, by the way, and I really love the third book, Prisoner of Azkaban. But if you think about those two books as far as like the big plot of the series, you could probably cut those or combine those into one book. But like say for instance, Lord of the Rings, you really can't axe anything from that trilogy.
Right.
And same thing, for Saxon Tales, the Last Kingdom stuff, you could probably axe, say book like 12, 9. I'm just giving random examples here, and still get the overarching plot. Uhtred was a Saxon raised by Danes, gets Bebbanburg, England's form. But so with this, when things are missing or there's big MacGuffins that aren't being mentioned or things like that, to me, it sticks out even more. Even though, like you did mention, we do have a different perspective because we read these first, unlike the Saxon books. But to me, it's a tighter, more epic, specific story.
Okay, fair enough.
You know what I mean?
You have 10 episodes to do one book, basically.
Yeah.
Because it seems like they're doing just the first book here in the season. So fair enough. Now, with that being said, I am happy with the acting. I'm really happy with the acting in this show.
Me too.
I think it's been really solid. I'm very happy. I said this in the last episode with the look of the show. I think the look is spot on. It is pretty close to how I pictured reading the book, how like the color palette would be, or the color palette. It looks great. The costumes are great. The sets are great. The landscape obviously is England, and it's beautiful, and it's that southwestern coast.
I get the impression too they're definitely trying to bring in Last Kingdom fans into this series. Like maybe I'm just reading too much in this, but like they mentioned like Shield Wall, the aesthetic of it. Like even the trailer for it says like from the author of The Last Kingdom, right? So
why not try to sell it that way at least?
Yeah, but I still think they are doing enough different things. Like it's
I don't think it feels like the same universe or anything.
I mean, it's definitely not the same universe because we'll talk about some stuff they do in episode 4. But yeah, so I they are doing some things that I like. Then I'm just like, wow, I'm glad they did that. And there's some things I'm just like, whoa, like how can you do something so major different when like there are some things it seems like you understand the story so well and you bring this in. And then there's this other thing. It's just, like I'm just gonna say, it seems to me like they have no idea what Merlin was in the books. They have like no idea.
Yeah. I think you're right. I think they've taken an entirely different direction.
Yeah, and it's I like the book way better. And no offense to the actor who plays him, because
the actor is doing a good job for what he's doing. He's a good actor. He's a great actor. It's not what the book is. It's not what the book is.
His character is so different. It's so different. And his part in this is so different. And I think if anything, it's just making his part less valuable and less interesting.
I'm concerned, and this is going to lead into one of the things I'm concerned at what impact is that going to have, not necessarily in this season, but in future seasons, with as far as how he stands now. I say we just get into some spoiler talk so we can elaborate on this a little bit more.
Yeah. As of now, I'm still glad I'm watching the show.
Oh yeah, me too. I'm really enjoying it. I actually am enjoying it more than I expected to. I was a little worried with, MGM's making a show. I don't know their reputation with series. I don't know many of these actors, and I've been enjoying the ride so far for sure.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anything else you want to say about that?
No. Do you want to get in episode 3, or was there like some
Let's get into episode 3, but let me just say something after the spoiler warning here.
Spoiler alert, everyone.
Spoiler, you've been warned. Spoilers for episodes 3 and 4. Here we go. So about Merlin, they're making him a little, compared to the book, too noble. As if he wants to be the one to we know from last episode that he wants to kill Mordred.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So it seems like he wants to do it because it's a smart thing to do, and he sees pain and suffering and things like that. But we know from the books that Merlin has a lot of self-interest.
Yeah, and it's just to his general interactions with everyone too. Like he goes, like again, people are going to be like, why is this guy complaining about these? The Merlin that's in this show is a person that I would like in any other context, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like in my own life, if someone was this nice and nurturing and respectful, and goal driven, and gave me a hug every time he saw me, I would love that guy. But Merlin in the books is a dick.
He's a dick.
A self-interested. And not only self-interested, but he's only focused on Britain. He doesn't give a shit about Arthur, other than Arthur can help Britain stay together.
He cares if you can help him to his means. He cares.
Yeah, right? He's only focused on the treasures,
and the gods,
which have not been brought up yet at all.
Right.
And
the gods. And yeah, it seems in this he's a little bit more nice, and he's just not nice in the books, and he's also hilarious in the books. He is a great source of humor
because of his snarkiness. He's so funny.
He almost always is insulting someone.
Careful, you idiot! Why can't you figure this out?
And I just was like, I was excited to see how they were going to portray that. Definitely a little disappointed that they took a different route. Again, the actor is doing a good job in the show. He's a great actor. It's just a different portrayal of a character that we wanted played a certain way.
Yeah, this isn't on him. This is clearly how the story's been written for him in his part. Yeah. Like he's he's hugging everyone. And the thing is too, Merlin doesn't show up. We talked about Merlin in the beginning of the book, saying how he did raise Derval and he was the Lord. But then in like present time of the book being told, he's nowhere around, and then his reveal is so awesome.
And that's what I was referring to earlier, and we're not going to specify what that reveal was just in case, but the way the show stands, and that we'll talk about in episode 4 a little bit more, it doesn't lend itself to a crazy reveal like that. I thought at the end of episode 2 that they were going to go that route.
Yeah, because it seemed like he disappeared.
Because he went off, right? He disappeared. No, sorry, episode 1. I think he comes back in 2. When
then he was. I think he was leaving, or
no, he leaves after the baby's born, right?
Yeah, because
that's what it was. So he left after the baby was born, and then I was like, oh, okay, so now we're not gonna. And then within these next 2 episodes, he just comes back when he feels like it. So I'm a little disappointed if they don't do that cool part from the book later on. Still not going to say it because maybe they'll find a way to, but it's one of the most memorable chapters from the book by far. And so,
and the guy's not old at all. Merlin's supposed to be old. And besides like I said, the personality of him is completely different. From a story perspective, he's in a completely different spot, and he's doing things that, completely different. Also, might as well just jump to it. He uses the Force in episode 4. He uses straight up magic in that. Like again, we talked about Last Kingdom did a great job of representing Bernard Cornwell's books, where you don't know if it's real magic or if it's just because Uhtred believes in sorcery and stuff that it's magic, and the show does a great job of translating that to the show.
But I've argued the
books
that
were the same for the Arthur stuff.
I interpreted it a little different though. Like when I read the books, I did feel it was a little bit more mystical than The Last Kingdom was.
There was definitely some times I'm just like, whoa, like what's the natural? But to me, everything I remember reading him and still thinking like there's still
Mm.
rational thing for everything going on, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I thought that it pushed the limits of that with this compared to the Last Kingdom. Like, not necessarily in this book, but especially in the coming books. I was like, oh, this does seem supernatural.
Because in the books
But
too,
not as overtly as what he does in episode 4.
to me, there's
Which
times when Merlin, like you think you're just like, oh, Durfel, the narrator of those books, is like, oh, Merlin used his power on so and so to make him believe in him and go do this mission. But and really, it's really if like when I'm reading, I'm just like, it's just because he's so confident and
sure,
and everyone thinks so much of him being powerful that just his reputation makes him powerful. You
sure,
know?
and I think there's a lot of merit to that. I do, I
Um,
do.
and
But it's
you
more
know,
of like the way the sky turns colors and things like that later on, which you
yeah.
know we don't even need to talk about it yet this season. Um, so, but let's back
Oh
up
yeah, I
to
need to
episode.
reread those again too. Yeah.
Yeah, let's
I
back
have
up.
reread the first one, so
Yeah,
that one's fresh in my mind.
yeah.
But yeah, yeah, I remember what you're
Let's
talking about now.
let's
Oh
back
yeah,
up to episode 3. And let's go through this episode. So we
yep,
ended up with Arthur coming to save the day
pretty sweet.
because which was sweet. I'm pretty sure in the book it's Owain who saves them at this point, but I think they needed to reintroduce Arthur sooner.
Well,
Didn't we talk about this?
it it's this point in the book is pretty far in, and it actually Arthur does show up, and Owain was with Durfel, and I think they did do some fighting against,
I think Owain came out
um,
first,
yeah, but then
and
Arthur does come in,
because I remember
and
like that trash talk they have with between Gunleus and um Owain, and then yeah,
yeah,
Arthur has that tremendous. So anyway, it was still a pretty cool way it was done. Um, I don't think we should re-elaborate on what we felt about the difference
it was
because we did
amazing
a
though.
lot of that in episode 2. If you want to hear our thoughts on the difference of it, but it was still really cool for a show, and that's where it left us. They now have Gunleus captured, and that's going to be a big point of this episode and what they do with him. Um, but basically, where does Dumnonia stand right now? Uther's dead, and they've left Owain and Bishop Baldwin in charge, and Owain is sort of acting as the king. Bedwin. What'd I say?
Baldwin.
Okay, sorry.
Same
Bedwin. They are also protecting Mordred, and yeah, so that's where we start this episode, and they basically put Gunleus and his witch woman away in a room because they get back, and apparently Uther has no prison in this freaking stone fortress.
This
amazing,
stone.
which is an amazing thought that you don't have a prison, so they have to put him in like the king's chambers.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that was weird.
I was like,
they're just like, all right, well, on our set, we don't want to have to make a prison room, so we're just gonna lock her up.
I guess it just means that Uther just killed his captors. There's captured people, so
captives.
Captives. No, he wasn't captive. Captives. I guess I thought that was interesting. And everybody is just immediately saying, "Yeah, let's kill that mofo." Because of what he did he tried to kill the baby. We got proof.
Well, he did kill a baby, and then he
killed a baby, but he tried to kill the baby that mattered.
Yeah.
Christ.
Kidding. We're kidding.
What am I joking?
He did it, not us.
Yeah. And
he also raped.
He killed.
Nimue?
He killed. Yes.
Did they say Nimue or Nimue?
They say Nimue. They say because in the audio books they say Nimue. The guy who read the book pronounces it Nimue.
Yeah.
No, so Nimue in the show. Nimue in the show, and he killed Norwenna. The mother, the queen consort, I suppose. the mother of Mordred. And
so no one likes this guy, but
everybody is,
Arthur wants
yeah.
to keep him alive because Nimue does try and kill him, but Arthur wants to keep around because he is the nephew of King Gorfefid.
Of Powerus.
Yeah,
Um,
and so
oh,
he's a powerful guy. Arthur wants to unite Britain because the Saxons are
right.
coming, which is
So
funny
so
to think about.
basically, like the whole land that's divided into like a few different countries or territories ruled by different kings, that whole land is being invaded by Saxons
Mm-hmm.
from the east. And the three kingdoms or I think is it three? Those kingdoms are not united right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so Arthur's thinking like, well, if I kill his nephew, he's definitely going to want to wage war on us, and then we're going to be fighting a war with each other while we're also being invaded by Saxons, and that's not going to help either of us. Like if we're going to defend ourselves against the Saxons, we got to unite, and so that's why he doesn't kill him. And Arthur once again is like ahead of everybody else. You know, he thinks big picture. He thinks further than everyone else. He's 3 steps ahead. You know, so it's cool.
And obviously, Nimue is pretty mad about this. It seems like she puts a curse on him. She's like, oh, I'm gonna make you pay just as much as him, or something like that.
Or you're gonna feel the same pain I felt, or something, unless
Yeah.
you let me do this. And basically, she's like, "All right, well, if you're not gonna let me, I'm going to find another way to do it." And she knows that Derval and Arthur are getting closer.
Yeah.
Derval had
I
a
like
cool moment where he told Arthur that like, I really want to be part of your crew. Because okay, let's talk a little bit about Arthur's bro group.
Yeah.
And we get to know them a little bit more in these episodes, and they're awesome.
Yeah. It's so we get to see his group. The ones that they seem to really have more lines and in at least in these couple episodes here are Sagramore and Lanvel. Seem to be his main bros. And there's even an awesome scene. It's kind of like it's a cool bro moment here where Sagramore and Lanval are talking about, because they talk with Lunette, the woman, the girl who's the daughter of Hal, who should have been Halbane, but he's not. But they do talk about how actually he trained Arthur a little bit with the sword, with hay bales. Yeah. And she's like, "Oh, you talk about, my father." And then Durfel, like you just see Durfel, it's just like, did he ever talk about me? Ever talk about me? And like and he's like, and he like shows him the scar and like, oh, it's Spear Boy or Death Pit Boy. Yeah. And he's like, is that what he calls me, Death Pit Boy? And like he's so excited, like that's a terrible name to have. And then they have like then they comedically reenact Arthur lifting a child off a spear in a death pit. They're like,
different times, bro. Different times. That wasn't offensive back then.
Yeah.
You today, you go out and make fun of someone getting lifted off of a death pit spear today, dude. Don't do it.
I know, dude. You're gonna have changed, man.
Times have changed, bro.
Man, can't even make fun of death pit.
Can't call anybody now Spear Boy anymore.
Spear. Come on, Death Pit Boy. Canceled. Come on, canceled.
You get canceled. But no, this is a historical show, so back then it's okay for the actors to say that kind of thing. And this is a great scene. It makes me feel more connected to the Arthur Bro group. It gives me hints of Finan and Citric from Last Kingdom, and and Uhtred's their guy who can also be in on the joke, but he can also be the leader and the serious one who lets the boys play while I figure shit out.
Do plot stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a cool dynamic, and Durfel's like a smart dude. He's like, I want to be part of this club. These guys are awesome. And so he tells Arthur, like, I'd like to be a bro. I'd like to be a bro.
I'd be a bro.
So, but who doesn't like that?
Oh, Nimue.
Oh no, Owain.
Oh yeah, Owain. That's right,
Owain. Because and if you remember, Owain had a great moment in, I think which episode was it? But where Derval was sneaking in to practice in the gym, just whacking away clandestine like on that wooden thing, just snuck in so quietly and just starts whacking at this wood. log. But it was such a cool moment because like you thought, oh, he's gonna get in a lot of trouble with Owain, and Owain's like, I'll teach you.
But he just hasn't yet. So
Yeah.
I don't
And so
think
I
he
mean,
has.
it makes you at that moment, it's like, oh, Wayne seems like a cool guy.
Mm. And he was Uhtred's or Uhtred
Arthur.
Arthur's bro
He was
before
Arthur's bro.
Arthur got banished.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And so like when
which in the books though, he's actually Arthur's man. He is
yes.
Arthur's one of Arthur's, they're not called the Knights of the Round Table, but he would be one of the Knights of the Round Table
Yes.
for
Yes.
Arthur.
And he's badass in the book.
But they have him in a different sort of position here in the show, which I'm okay with because of like what their relationship turns into. I'm okay with the position they have. I'm fine with that change.
But I'll tell you what, by the end of episode 4, I have a whole different feeling about Owain than I did in episode 2. So we'll get to it. But anyway, Owain's showing jealousy, and he basically tells Dervahl's like, "Oh, you can't be part of his crew. You got to be part of my crew. You're gonna be doing shit with me."
He's like, "Well, I know I will train you. I will.
Okay.
I know I haven't been, but I will now.
Yeah.
Because I don't want you to leave me for Arthur.
Right.
Because Arthur is gaining some recognition. People will just respect him, do what he says,
Yep.
and
I
he's
think
out in the
part
fields working with
yes,
the
I
peasants.
love this.
And this wasn't from the books, but this is a pretty cool scene. One of the I'm gonna say peasant. One of the peasants came up and was like, he's like Christ out in the field. He put his hands to labor, and Owain's just like, what? And just goes out there and
he starts doing it too.
Yeah.
Copycat, because you think Owain also is getting a taste of that power. I think he likes it.
Owain
he likes being
power.
in charge. I think he knows that Arthur should be in charge, and I think he's okay with a lot of Arthur's decisions, even if he questions them at first, because he knows that Arthur's really smart. Arthur doesn't necessarily come in and like say I'm in charge here. He actually doesn't do that. I think Owain actually wants him to like take more control at the beginning too. Like he wants him to be more involved in the decision making. So anyway, back to Nimue, like you were saying, she is not happy with Arthur that he's going to keep this guy alive. Arthur's explained himself why, and she's going to find a way. And so she tries to use Dervahl, who's now gotten close, obviously, with Arthur, a little bit closer, to get the key that Arthur has to get into the room so that she can just go murder.
Oh, Gunleus.
Yeah. And basically, because by the way, Nimue is still in shambles for the trauma that she endured by Gunleus. And this is when we get the part we were missing from the first couple episodes. She makes a pact with Dervahl.
Was the moment you said that you knew?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Which I was thinking, okay, they did do it because it's so important to have that. Though?
She still got her eye. We need to get rid of that eye.
Get rid of that eye. Need to get rid of that eye. Props to the actress though that plays Nimue. She's really good.
I really like her. She's really I don't know how else to say it. She's really unique looking too. I think because of all of her like freckles. She really just stands out because of that.
Yeah, she does.
I don't know, like she does. She just looks like a really different person to me.
Yeah, and she just goes through so much shit. And Dervahl being just he loves her, right? We know this. They do the ceremony, cutting the hand, placing it together, mixing all that.
You know what? I have to say, like, I don't know how deep she cut him, but like obviously cutting your hand's painful. And I've had some cuts on my hand, maybe not as deep as what she did, but like she cut him and he's like, yeah, like pretty noticeable, like a pretty noticeable, like when she was like cutting his hand. I was like,
what would you do?
I was like, Dervahl, like if it would like, I don't know, man, like obviously if like you and I are just sitting around and you just like reach out and do it to my, I'm like what the fuck? But like I think like if you're friends with a Nimue here, like you've got to expect some weird crazy shit to happen to you.
Also,
right?
If this is the girl that you like, You're gonna fucking man up on it, right? You're gonna like
exactly. You are not going to be a bitch in that moment.
Yeah, it feels good. No, it feels good. I feel deeper. Yeah,
I like this.
it's just that. It's like,
but he's like, ooh.
well, to be fair, and this is what I like about Dervil's character too. Right now is we're gonna see growth because he's still like, yeah, he killed a guy last episode, but he still had a life fairly benign. You know, besides getting thrown into a death pit and almost dying.
And having your
besides
mom raped
getting
by Gungleus,
besides like having to escape Gunleus and having to murder two guys, you know, it's
pretty cushy life
for the time. But no, I don't see him as this tough guy though, right?
Yeah, he's no Arthur.
He's no Arthur. Like Arthur would have fucking taken that shit and like give me like do my other hand. You know, he like but
you're
like
gonna miss my feet too.
Yeah,
you're gonna get my feet.
At the end in the last episode, Dervil's gonna be like, cut my hand again. Watch me. And he's gonna be fine. But my point is, I love to see the growth. Like I like how Dervil, when we meet him, he's like not experienced a whole lot of conflict, and now he is going through it. He wants to make something of himself. He's trying to get into any opportunity he can. He's like, let me do something.
Put me in, coach.
Which I like it, and I can't wait to see like how the actor develops his character by the end, because I've already seen a lot of growth, and I think we're still in episode 3, and like you know, that's just a very insignificant example of what I'm talking about with the hand cutting, but I'm just saying I like where his character's going. We know in the books that he's an awesome character.
Yeah, he becomes an amazing warrior. So I hope the actor is able to sort of go into that position. Yeah. I hope they lead the character that way.
But we get our scars. We get our scars. It's like a Harry Potter scar that like when Nimwe's near or something, or if she's in danger, like it hurts him in the books. Like there's a really, and the thing is, it plays a huge role in one of the other books as far as their scar connection, that sort of thing. So if they didn't have that, I was going to be like, what are we doing? And again, though, too, you talked about how Nimue is distraught this episode because of how Gungleus assaulted her, which any normal person, right, they would be, and that's understandable, as you should be. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, though, like I said in our last talk, Nimue really, although she does want to kill him, so like she obviously does have some resentment and hates Gungleus, and in the books she is, but she's not super distraught in the books. I mean, she is, but she doesn't show it. She's not talking about it, and you know, again, too, why I'm mentioning this is because she mentions there's 3 things you need to become as powerful as Merlin, which is her goal. She wants to become as powerful as Merlin. You know, Merlin even says, like, if you want to be as powerful as me, and Merlin too is like, just don't have sex with Durfel, then you'll be as powerful as me. But in the books, though, like the thing is, it's a wound to the body, a physical wound. That's why I keep stressing the eye. A wound to the pride, which is, and she when she's telling Durfels in the book, she indicates her private parts, which also saying that must have happened to Merlin, which is interesting to think about. That he never lets on. Mind, body, and then the brain or the mental, basically like that you go through like insanity and come back. So this is her wound to her pride, and she was supposed to lose her eye at the time too, so that would have been the body. So at the time she was kind of, she wasn't happy about having that terrible experience, but she was happy she had she was steps. like check,
you know,
check. Terrible. This is not funny.
It's not funny, but it's to me though, I'm just like, again, a normal person, this is how they would be, and that's maybe they're but
in the book she still wanted revenge on Gunleus in the book.
She definitely did 100%.
So,
but I'm just saying,
what she wants
would mention that though too, because
true, I agree. That would be cool if I'm surprised that when Merlin did come back, they didn't have that discussion. Now, with Durfel there. She wants him to like snuggle up to Arthur and drug him basically. She's like, here, take this, put it in his
Ale?
ale. I was gonna say mead, but ale, sure.
Mead?
Um,
White Claw?
and then bring me the key, and we'll just kill him, and Arthur will be none the wiser as to doing this. Who did it and stuff because you drugged him and all that. And obviously Derval's conflicted because he's like, well, I just signed this like pretty major contract with my blood. Um, and like I promised this girl who I love, and I feel like I owe it to her. She's been through so much shit. But on the other hand, like Arthur's got like trust me right now, and I want to prove to him that I can be his man, and so that's where he's at. So he goes, Arthur, who freaking sleeps out in the fields with his men. He doesn't like take a like comfy room in the just fantastic. Durfel goes to Arthur. Arthur's chilling, drinking, about to go to sleep probably. And he's like, Durfel's like, oh, let me get you a drink. Goes over and does the pours in the shit. And Arthur's like, which one am I supposed to drink? Right? This is what he says, like something like that. And it's just like
Durfel hands it to him and he's like, should I drink this, Durfel?
Oh, should I drink this? That's
should
right.
I
That's
drink
what it
this?
is. Yeah. Should I drink this?
And Durfel's like, no.
Badass. And ever since I saw this episode, like if my wife brings me a drink like of water or something, I look at it, I say, should I drink this? Just because you never know.
Should I drink this, Ani? Should I drink this?
Should I drink this? Really?
She just wants Gunglaeus. That's all Ani wants. That's all she wants.
She knows who I'm protecting.
She knows you're protecting Gunglaeus.
So anyway, this scene, dude. I've already liked Arthur.
Like it's from the books too, but it's not. This feels like a Durfel Arthur interaction, doesn't it?
Yeah. It's fantastic. And Durfel just cannot. I even was questioning, is Durfel actually going to go through with this anyway? I guess he was. He handed him the drink.
But it's funny how
would he have stopped him if he started to hold it up to his lips? I don't know.
I really love too just how Arthur just knew though that he shouldn't, and the way he handles it too is just so it's so Arthur from the books. Like when he's there's it's something we'll probably talk about here in one of the future episodes. But there's a scene between him and Arthur, or Durfel and Arthur, where Arthur's doesn't want him to break a vow to someone else, so he's like, tell me, am I right in challenging this person to this thing? And so it's just feels like that sort of wisdom of Arthur. And that's why, again, like to me, it just says like, it seems like the writers really understand the character of Arthur from the books, the way they're writing him. Cause like, there's a lot of scenes in this episode, like when he's out in the field, and right here with Durfel, I'm just like, these aren't from the books, but it feels like Arthur.
Arthur also seems to like have a really good understanding of who Durfel is. And like I think he knows deep down after the interactions he's had with him already that Durfel's honest.
Yeah.
Even though Durfel tried to do something, I think he knows Durfel's honest. And I think he learned that further when Durfel just like, yeah, it's gonna knock you out, so don't drink it.
That's what I mean, though. Like, it's just these scenes are like they seem so true to the characters and well written, and then that's why it just baffles me so much more. Like how the way they're doing with Merlin, I'm just like, why don't they get Merlin then? Like, it seems like they really get the Durfel Arthur thing.
They just did a different direction, I suppose.
Why do they not? Like that's what it just blows my mind, because like I said, there's these some of these scenes aren't from the books. They're great and they feel like that Arthur from the books, but it's just like you just it just feels like they didn't read any of the Merlin stuff. They're just like, let's write Merlin
or
from.
didn't like it, and it was like, oh, we're not going to do that. But like, you should have, because that's such an interesting part of the book. Because I mean, how many times in a King Arthur story is Merlin the sort of Dumbledore good character?
We've seen that so many times.
And this was always refreshing to me in the books, how I don't particularly like Merlin as a person.
I think he's funny, but yeah, I'm just like, I
I
would
like him
not
as a
like this
character. I think
person in
he's
real life.
entertaining, but like if he was in my life, I'd probably not want to hang around him that much.
No,
Um,
I'd be like, yeah, that guy's a dick.
yeah, it made it unique. I think that's what always stood out to me from those books, is Merlin
Mhm.
was one of the big standout things. So a little disappointed again that they're not going that route. Again, the actor's doing a good job. Maybe he'll turn into a dick. We don't know. Still, Morgan Le Fay is also not a crazy bitch in this. She's like very
And she
kind
has
and
her
compassionate.
face. Yeah, I don't
And her
like that.
face looks great.
No,
Like,
they need to
she has a
mess
very
that face
pretty
up.
actress. It's
Cover,
like
or at
they
least
need
cover that
to
face up.
just cover it with a gold mask and pretend she's ugly, like in the books.
Yeah, I don't get that either. I'm just like, why? Why did they change that?
And I think it's hilarious that like there's that one line that she says that she has like, oh, people won't marry me because I have such a sharp tongue. It's like, you've been the nicest person in this whole show so far.
She's so nice. Yeah,
She's so nice. So just different. If you haven't read the books, Morgan Le Fay is, she doesn't say a single nice thing to anybody at any point in the whole freaking series.
no.
She is mean to everyone. She's
But you can
nasty.
understand why
I
too,
like
because
I can like smell her through the pages. Like, she smells terrible. They describe how like disgusting she is.
Yep. Same.
And like,
Yep.
I just like, she's not at all. It's just not how she is in the show. So it's another character they just did a totally different direction with.
I don't get it. But like
Whatever.
Owain seems, even though like they're changing
Mhm.
how
What he
Owain,
does.
yeah, where the events in order and what position, he
Mhm.
still seems true to Owain.
Agreed.
I would say Nimue seems fairly true to
Fairly
Nimue,
true.
but like
Fairly
there's
true.
just parts of the story that are missing from
Mhm.
her stuff so far.
Mhm.
So yeah, I don't know. I understand. But again, like this scene.
Howell was not how I pictured him in the books.
Yeah.
I pictured him more of a warrior. I think he should have had a cooler standoff at the end. I know he was fighting, but
Yeah, they should have.
show us that this was the guy who trained Arthur and Durfel how to use a sword.
Mm-hmm.
Like, show us that. They didn't. Um. Anyway, this episode ends with something pretty damn wild, because not Nimue. You think you're mad now, Nimue. You think you're mad now.
Hold my mead.
Arthur lets him go. Arthur knows that Gunlaeus letting him go and trying to get his father, or sorry, his uncle, who's the king of that land to come, is the only chance that they have to unite. He's not sure it's going to work, but he knows there's no other option that could work.
Yeah.
It's the only chance that they have for it.
And Arthur
so
keeps his witch wife, Ladwis, is prisoner to like leverage and be like, so I know you come back. It's kind of like when you're just like you forget your cash for the barber, and he's like, just leave your keys and you can go to the ATM.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it's like. And because it does seem like Gunlaeus has a strong connection with this, with Ladwis. So yeah, that was basically the episode. Everyone thinks Arthur's a freaking idiot for letting their like mortal enemy go.
I don't think that happened in the books. Or maybe it did. Oh,
it might have.
I can't remember that part offhand. But some good bro moments in this.
Totally.
I like Durfel with Ladval, whoever.
Yeah.
And Sagramore around the fire.
Mm-hmm.
A good bro moment. Arthur out in the fields, good bro moment. Arthur and Durfel stuff, like that time around the fire, saying,
Agreed.
I want to serve you. All a lot of little bro moments. Nothing.
And honestly, Arthur, or sorry, Durfel and Nimue, in their pact, like Durfel's trying his best to be there for her. He knows that she's been through shit, and he was there for her. Durfel's an awesome dude.
Good bro moment there.
So yeah. And then yeah, I think the best scene from this one was when Arthur and Dervil interact with the drink, and Arthur's like, "Should I drink this?" I mean, I remember like on the couch, I was like, "No shit!" Like he knows. Like
that
Arthur
was
knows. How does he know?
that
Like
was
that's
great.
crazy.
I love that. Again,
Again,
that is
he's
one
three
thing I wasn't
steps
expecting.
ahead of everyone. He like
Mhm.
knows everyone's motives. He's like, well, Dervil's friends with Nimue. Nimue wants to kill a guy. She might get to him, so she might poison me. So I should definitely ask him if he poisoned my drink before I drink it. He's so calculated. He's
Mhm.
so calculated. It's
And if you
cool.
think about it too, that's probably why also he let him go because he knew like I want him to keep this alliance, but if he stays here, someone's going to kill him because everybody hates him.
That's a great
Um,
point. Yeah, he's probably going to end up dead if he stays here. If I let him go, and keep his woman, he'll probably come back.
yeah,
It's like he's really freaking smart. So
smart,
yeah,
smart,
I
smart, smart.
think we should jump into episode 4.
Episode 4 of Winter King here. Um, so yeah, what we're getting into, he just let him go. Everyone's mad. Um, and then one of the things we start out with here, one of the things is kind of irritated me, but I don't know, it's kind of cool in its own way.
Okay.
Um, Merlin goes with his sister Morgan down to where his mother lived. If you remember, his mother was not the queen or the wife of the king. That's why
Mhm.
he's a bastard. Goes
And
down
I think
there.
it's Morgan's mother too, right?
Yes, it
Because
is because
yeah,
yeah, and that's why but she was still allowed in the castle and everything.
because they don't care as much about
The female ones, yeah,
daughters. They don't
yeah.
daughters aren't a threat to their throne.
So yeah, but anyway, they go down. They're talking about um how his their mother was.
And
Um,
Arthur's memories are like fantastic of his mother.
mhm. And she's
Like
like, nope, like you were afraid of her. She was
she
harsh,
hated you.
blamed you
She
for
hated you.
everything.
And apparently she hated him because um Uther, because they had a son, Uther then distanced himself from her. And then I guess her life turned to shit after that because the king doesn't want anything to do with you because now you have a son that could threaten his position. Um,
And then they also mentioned like about
so
Excalibur. They talk about that. Um,
stories of it, yeah.
and Arthur goes to his mother's grave, and
Mm-hmm.
there's a few swords in there. And he mentioned to Durfel in the previous episode when Durfel wanted to be his man that his mother was a blacksmith.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that's why she has a bunch of swords in her grave. And he's like looking around, and then like the sun sort of like glimmers on the lens when there's this one with like it's got like a sort of a tri uh pronged hilt
It looks
sort of
definitely
thing.
looks different than all the other swords we've seen in the show.
Yeah, the sun like kind of glimmers on the lens. And he picks it up and he's like, it looks really rusty and old, like it
Chipped
doesn't look
up.
sharp at
The
all.
handle's actually like chipped up, like there's a wood part that's
Yeah. But he
but
looks
he
at it, he's like,
likes it.
oh, yeah, I'll take this from mom.
Feels nice. It was like that moment when Aragorn picks up the kid's sword. It's a good sword, you know.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah, I like this. Yeah.
it's a nice sword. And he keeps it. He just throws it in the belt. And then like he goes to the training room and he like I thought it was interesting. He just sort of like puts it on the rack.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, maybe he's sort of like, oh, this sword's not that good. Like I kind of like it, but I'll just put it here.
It's not sharp
Like
or
I have a
anything.
freaking awesome sword that I've fought battles with. It's great.
I have an awesome.
Um,
So,
yeah,
and
but
that's one thing too is I wonder, we mentioned in our first recap of episode 1 and 2 how Arthur he's not wearing the white uh fish scale armor like they
right.
describe in the book with a cape and everything, and he already had Excalibur at that point. Merlin gave him Excalibur, but it wasn't called Excalibur. It was some old British word. It was like
Yeah, they had a name for it.
Palagastagan or
I
something.
remember the part in the book where they say, well, that is Excalibur or something. Like I think someone Dervil's talking to.
But yeah, Durfel's narrating the story in the books, which again, I'm a little upset there's not like a present day thing going on where Durfal's narrating, because that event sets up some cool stuff. But anyway, though,
Yep.
And he's like, and the person he's telling it to really romanticizes the legend of Arthur, and like her version of King Arthur is probably like the traditional story of King Arthur. Like if you were to read what's that book called, Once and Future King?
The Once and Future King. Yep.
Yeah, that's kind of like her version of King Arthur.
Right.
And he's like, well, it's not Excalibur, it's Calagastagan, but I'll call Excalibur for her because that's easy to say. And but anyway, though, Calagastagan Excalibur was given to Arthur by Merlin, because he knows Arthur is an awesome warrior, and he wants Arthur to keep away the Saxons and keep the British religion not be infiltrated by the Saxons and the Christians and stuff like that. So that's his motive for giving the sword to Arthur. And so again, I'm just kind of like, especially in this show, the version of Merlin they have is buddy buddy with everybody. It makes even less sense that they wouldn't have Merlin be the one to give him the sword.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe they're trying to make his mother play a bigger role.
Right. I kind of like the mother backstory kind of stuff. It was interesting. And apparently Morgan she's like, I'm the one who did all this stuff that you have good memories about. It was me doing, like, reading you the stories and all that. So it's an interesting thread. Interested to see where that goes. Also, while we're talking about swords, still, Derval's sword is not Howl's Bane.
No.
And it's disappointing. I guess they're just not going to. I was hoping that, like, in a couple episodes, like, I know he picked up the sword, I think, from one of the guys that he killed, the one he has now.
Yeah.
But I was hoping that somehow,
and Arthur was checks it out, and that's when he brings up his mom was a blacksmith, and he checks it out.
I know.
And I thought he was gonna go like, oh, like, I heard Hal. You lived with Hal. Did he train you some? And he'd be like, oh, a little bit. Oh, he trained me.
Yeah.
I thought they were gonna have that discussion and then be like, I think in his honor, like, you should name this or give him a different sword. Be like, maybe that'll still happen.
Maybe something like that'll happen. But like,
he
or even like
too thin.
Yeah, or even like if he took the sword from the guy, maybe Lynette could have said, like, that's my father's sword. He must have killed my father, and then you killed him or something. And now he has something like that. I guess they didn't think it was that important. Whatever.
But to me, it's like that's what he calls his sword that throughout the 3 books,
Yeah.
And
but they also didn't, like, portray Howl as a warrior at all. And
but they did talk.
But then they mentioned it, which was kind of confusing to me. It's like, oh, well, why didn't you guys, like, have him be awesome and fight like that? And then
I would have no problem if they just changed that later. They were just like, oh, he was a warrior. He needed to train me a little bit, and like I would have no problem. Just so that the book is true, I would have no problem if they did that.
Just like a crazy Magnus Samuelson as Klappa scene, like, to let Derval and Lynette get away where he just is getting killed, but he keeps fighting. Yeah. That'd have been cool.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so we get a cool, like we said last time, Derval has basically been taken by Owain, and Owain has been ordered now to go collect the taxes, right, from all the different towns, because finances are getting a little tight at Caer-Cadern, and everybody, Derval notices like everyone is, like, grabbing a woman because they're going to be on the road for weeks, I think, and like Derval takes Lynette, and Lynette and Derval had been getting a little frisky,
flirty.
My wife was like, wait, weren't they sort of like adopted brother and sister?
I was thinking the same thing. Didn't he grow up with Hal and Lynette?
I can't remember if the books he was with Lynette. I don't know if Lynette had anything to do with Howl in the books.
I don't think she did. No.
I don't think she did. I think they just merged that. But Lynette is, like, the woman Derval first marries, I think, in the books. And so it makes sense that they're together, but it is weird because, like, this is like they grew up together.
Yeah. She's pretty attractive too and seems nice, which
she's cool. She's a cool character.
I wonder if she'll change like she does, but
yeah, it could happen. And so anyway, they go around collecting taxes. It's all fine and good, and Owain's seems fine, and then he actually suspects deceit from Cadwis.
Yeah.
And so he has Dervil like go ahead and spy before they get there, right?
Mhm.
Oh no, they
Yeah.
send no, well, yeah, they send
Well, he
to
knew.
spy, but they also send like a messenger to tell.
Yeah, he knew that once he announced that he was coming, that he was going to take all of his wealth out and hide it. So he did that, and they spied and saw him moving it all out. And he told
And
Durfel to
Dervil
go
like
follow him.
yeah, he followed where they put it so that they could
Yeah.
prove it later. Yeah. Um, this was cool. This was cool. I like this scene.
Mm-hmm.
And Owain, and I'm liking Owain at this point. I was like, oh, Owain's smart dude. Smart
Mm-hmm.
dude. Pretty badass when he confronts them about it. Like they go in and the guy at Cadwis, um, I was like, oh, we're so poor and we got nothing. I'm sorry. It's been a bad harvest. And Owain's like, oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It sucks. Um, he's like, I guess you're just gonna have to give me whatever you have on you. And like somebody gives him like a little bit of money, and then he's like, really? That's all you got? And they give him like a sack of gold.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, cool. And so then while they're gonna like they're basically setting up a sting to prove, and they're gonna have Dervil
Exactly.
go and get the gold. They're chit chatting at the table, and Cadwis is basically like, "There's a tin mine, and what you really should do is, um, like go and take what is it? He just wants them to take the tin,
Yeah, just take the tin, just the
take the
metal
tin.
for money. And then I don't know if they talk about it, but but Cadwis is like, well, you can't. It can't be me that goes and gets this for you because everyone will
Yeah,
know it's me, and
right.
then I won't be able to help you out. Um, so eventually, when they do go there, they pose as, which I think this is from the books too. They
Yes,
camouflaged as an Irish raiding party from
Owengus McIram.
Oangus MacIram.
Yeah,
Um, yes, but also during this meeting too, Durfel does go
yeah,
to where they have this stuff at, and he goes uncovered. And now this guy tries to beat him up, and Durfel ends up killing him. So this is number 2 or 3. Durfel's killed here, so starting to get there. He's no John Wick yet, but he'll get there,
yeah.
and he brings that back. So now they've kind of made even more money than they were going to before because they've
Oh
got
yeah,
the stash they originally wanted, the gold they handed to him, and now they know about the tin mine too. Um, so yeah, pretty cool.
and this is where um they definitely don't have to go to the tin mine.
Yeah.
The tin mine is a greedy thing for Owain
Mm-hmm.
and the boys to try to do. It's also like not really right for them to steal it, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and this is where like my feelings for Owain start to change a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
You see his true colors.
yeah.
That's
Uh,
why I hate him. So don't be afraid unless
and
you're a minor. By
um,
minor, I mean person who works underground, not someone under 18.
yeah. And then so they paint their faces, but they do nothing about Durfel's like bleach blonde hair, and they it's cool. I like the scene though where they're painting like their shields black so that you can't see him, but then like Dervil's just going in, wear a hat. Like
Put it in a ponytail or something,
like
right?
yeah.
And then they
Like
call each
freaking
other by their
Owain
names
paints
too.
his face black and like he looks you can't see him. He's got
Mm.
black beard, long black hair.
I was looking up
But
the cast too, and that actor looks the most different, at least in his picture on IMDb
yeah,
from his character, because like he doesn't have all that beard and hair, and
totally.
he's not. Wayne to me looks pretty bulky, but like that guy is like pretty average, like kind of thin,
Costume must
looking,
do a lot of it.
and he's like smiling, and I'm just like that guy looks like an entirely different person. And
Well,
he's like has a suit on and stuff.
yeah.
And Wayne's all messy. Oh, one thing I do like
Also,
Wayne.
yeah.
Another cool thing about his like costume and stuff is he has all those rings all over
Yeah.
him, which was from the books. Is he
Yes, it was.
they would forge the rings. Was it from the swords of the men they beat, or it
Maybe.
came from something from the men they
Yeah,
beat. I
something. I
can't,
can't
but
remember what.
but he would add it. So he needs a bunch of chains on his arms, which I'm like, well, Wayne in the books had a bunch of chains,
That's cool.
a
That's
bunch of
cool.
those rings. He mentions how Arthur doesn't have any, but it's just because Arthur doesn't want to wear them all, and
Yeah.
Arthur is a
Arthur probably
badass
got tons of.
if he wanted to.
Now, yeah. So they go down, and also I thought it was weird. Like they're getting ready for like a night raid, it seems. But then
Mhm.
like when they attack, it's like daytime. It's like
Yeah,
morning.
I wondered if
It's
they just kind of did the lighting so we could see better or something. I don't know.
yeah, it looked like morning. I don't know if that's what they were going for.
With
Um,
worst time to try
but
and
it's
sneak
like,
up on
why did you
people.
paint your guys' faces black then?
Yeah, when people are gonna wake up, why would you
Uh,
do that?
so they go in, and unfortunately, um, they get found out, and they have to kill a bunch of people, a bunch of
Those
miners.
miners. You have to kill a bunch of miners.
And actually, they would have killed an actual minor, like a kid, but Dervil goes into this tent, and there's a kid just freaking living its life, just trying to sleep. And Dervil knows, like, Wayne's probably going to murder this kid so that he doesn't get caught, you know?
Oh yeah, because
Kid
they
can't.
just killed all the miners and then they killed the dog.
So, like,
And this
Dervil
kid
being the
witnessed
good
it all.
dude, and I think Dervil was kind of going in thinking they're not going to have to kill anyone. Like, he
Oh
didn't
yeah.
really want to. So he's a little bit mortified that all this is happening. And he doesn't want the kid to die because Dervil's a good dude. So he, like, hides the kid under the thing. And Owain goes in to look, like, are there any kids in here that I can murder? And he's like, no, 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 no.
Nothing
So
in here to murder.
that's definitely not going to come back to haunt
No
them.
more miners.
Um, and that's definitely not going to come back to haunt them ever.
No, definitely not.
So
Especially since they were all saying their true names to each other.
exactly, why
You're like
not just
Durful, make sure Durful.
okay, Owain,
Okay, Owain.
sure thing,
Owain.
Owain, uh, part-time ruler of Dumnonia, Dumnonia, friend of Arthur. No problem.
Six
We
foot
probably shouldn't be doing
two.
this raid, huh? They didn't go well, huh?
Well, we had to kill all those miners.
We had to
It
kill
was
everyone, and
us.
oh
And we
man.
didn't even
Well, let's
have
take
to.
all this back to Dumnonia now, to Arthur, and yeah, cool, cool thing, Dervil. Sure,
Sure thing, Durful.
thing, Dervil. Oof. So yeah, but anyway, that's not going to be an issue later.
No. Hmm.
So
End of
successful
storyline.
raid, successful raid.
Success.
Um,
But
and
yeah,
then
you
we get to
see
your
Wayne's
favorite part.
is a jerk here.
He's a
Yeah.
yeah, deep down, unfortunately. I like it though. Yeah, I like that there's some fallacy in characters.
Hmm.
Like they can also come off as good at sometimes, like but they also have dark sides. So
That's how
Merlin,
people are.
let's get to your favorite part. Merlin comes
Yeah.
back and he is just hugging people and again he has the same vision he had before about Mordred. Just there's just blood and there's a gold mask and
Heads rolling off of
slaughter.
blocks.
Yes.
Really red.
And so he's just like, you know what the fuck? I'm just gonna have to go ahead and do this thing I've wanted to do for so long, um, and get rid of this baby.
Get rid of
And
this
so
miner.
this is when he just turns into Obi-Wan Kenobi. And this is where we talk like your opinion of the book. You don't think there's a lot of supernatural stuff. They certainly didn't do anything like this. I always
There
thought
was
there was a
no
little bit of magic
straight.
in the books,
Yeah, there was no.
but this is yeah.
There was never any straight up. Like there was times people would say, "I've cursed you," or
Mhm.
I'm using like a connection between us to cause bad things to happen in your life." But all the things that were like happening bad in someone's life, you or from a curse or whatever, again, you could always chalk up to just coincidence. Like bad things happen to
Frozen.
people. It's. Are you still there? Oh, shit.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hi. You're frozen. Oh, now you're back.
Okay, so you said all the things that were happening.
Oh, but like in the book, in the book that this show's based off of, and like the last game. Oh, you still there? Oh, now you're back.
I don't know what happened. I just turned my phone off. I don't know why it just reset. That's weird. Okay.
But anyway, though, in the books, there's there's never a moment like this where it's just straight up magic. You see someone do magic to someone. There's times where, like, before a battle, they say the wizards are casting curse, or the druids are casting curses on each other. But you don't see anything. You don't see anyone change. They're just sort of me, like bouncing around, doing stuff like that. And like, it if anything happens from that, it's just because people take meaning and assume things happen from that.
Right.
And if
they
don't
like, get mind controlled.
They don't get straight up just like these are not the droids you're looking for. Like, that is straight up what happened. Like, I saw him go up and he goes, and it almost sounded like the door even slid open from that. And then the guards just sort of step out of the way. And I was like, okay, maybe he's just like,
he's a powerful person. They're like, oh, the king trusts, or they trust him so he can do what he wants.
It was just his influence. Yeah, it's his
influence.
It's his position of authority that he's like, and maybe he even like told him early, like, when I come by, step aside later tonight. And I was like, that's just him saying, step aside. He goes in, grabs the baby. The ones he comes up behind, they don't see him. He doesn't make a sound. He just goes, force mind controls them, and they just like go to sleep and step out of the way. And I'm just like, this is straight up magic happening to people, you know? And I do not like this. I don't like this. This isn't.
It felt a little different.
And again, too, these books, even if, like, from your perspective, there's more magical things that happen in it. For me, I can explain everything to coincidence. Like, when this big ritual happens and the weather changes, maybe the weather was just supposed to be that way that day, you know?
Okay.
There's never like a moment when someone's like, I am going to do this to you, and that happens to them right then. They're like, I curse you, and maybe bad things happen to them like within a month. But it's just like, again, you live in the 400s, 600s. Like, shitty things are going to happen to you. Like, I live in 2023, and I'm going to have like a week or a month where like just shitty things happen to me. So, but again, just straight magic, just straight force use on someone. And
except
to me, this just says you just don't know what Merlin was in the books, or you don't care and you want to change it.
Well, definitely changing it. They're definitely just going their own direction with Merlin.
To me, like, don't do that, because there are so many like generic, like, I think of like The Witcher. I think about that show Cursed, and again, I like the first 2 seasons of The Witcher. There was some shitty parts, but I think of Cursed. You know, there's a lot of like fantasy shows on Netflix or whatever that they're just, I don't know how to explain it. They're just so generic and just shitty. And this show should not be this generic shitty magic thing where all the characters are a certain way. Like, you have a very unique character, Merlin, and you have a very unique way the magic is portrayed. Like, don't do this. Stop it.
Well, they did it. They done did it. Except the good thing is there's one person that's immune to it, and that's Arthur.
That's why I was like,
Arthur be like, where are you going with that, baby? Where are you going with that, baby? Don't forget, Arthur had sworn to his father he would protect the child. And, you know, Merlin's like, I just think, you know, I had a bad vision. Let me take the baby away to a town where they will never know it was supposed to be king. It'll just live a life, and then we won't have all that treachery, aka I'm going to go drown this baby in a bathtub. And, you know, obviously Arthur, who thinks ahead of everyone, is like, yeah, no, well, I'm not going to let that happen. I have to protect this child. I swore to it no matter what you said, because I think Arthur probably does believe him, because it's Merlin. He probably does believe that, like, yeah, probably the best thing to do would be to kill this baby, but I swore against it. So I'm not going to let that happen. And so he takes the baby, and that's when Merlin takes off and not happy, but
Yeah, he's not happy here. And then later then so this kind of makes me think maybe this is these parts that are going to help transition him into the Merlin that we know. Maybe they're like, at least from a personality perspective.
Listen, if the Merlin in the book had a vision of that baby the first time he met that baby when the baby was just born, if Merlin in the book was around, that Merlin would have stabbed that baby so fast. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
That Merlin would not have hesitated when he had that vision.
No.
He would have, in front of the mother, stabbed that baby and been done with it. That Merlin did not care. Merlin don't give a fuck.
And then that Merlin, after doing that, would he would treat the mother like as an idiot for
you idiot. How could you have a baby like this, you idiot? Oh, I'm better. I'm better than you. I'm so smarter than you. I'm so much.
Now to go find the cauldron. So, but after which this was, I thought, a cool scene, that like seeing Arthur stand up to Merlin like this, and he's just like, no, I like that.
This is this is like if you were psychic and you were the nurse of Hitler's mom and you had the vision of what this guy was going to do, what would you do? And that's always the question people ask. If you could go back in time and kill baby Hitler, would you?
And to that I say, like, can I at least get like a teenage Hitler?
Yeah,
teenage Hitler wasn't doing anything. Like, I'd rather. I think I'd feel better killing a teenager over a baby. Not saying I want to kill either one, YouTube algorithm people, but I'm just saying, FBI in that position, a lot of people. This is a pretty common proposition people have. Would you kill baby Hitler? Can I go back in time to like when he's in his 20s? He's already had sex. He's already had friends and like work, but like now he's starting to get in that phase where he's angry at life and he wants to kill people, and that's when I kill him. Before he's a politician or anything. That's when I kill him. Like, and like everyone just remembers him as like the art student who died.
Right. He had a good reputation when he died.
He had a good reputation. Like, I remember that guy with that weird mustache, but he like drew a lot of like.
Oh, I gotta tell you about that.
They were kind of shitty patients, but are kind of shitty patients, kind of shitty drawings, paintings, but
he was a nice guy.
He was a nice guy. He said some weird stuff about Jewish people, but that's okay.
No, then it's not okay. We're done.
It was okay for them at the time in the 1920s.
Okay. Changing the subject. Yes. So at the end of this episode is the best scene of the episode, I think.
Yes.
Gunlaeus does come back with his uncle, with his dear uncle. And his uncle, the guy who played his uncle, was cool. He was authoritative. He was like, I'm a freaking king.
Gorfefid, yeah.
Yeah. And he basically just tries to provoke Arthur the whole time. And it was a fun scene to watch.
And it seems like maybe he wants to kill the baby, because we know his nephew, that's what he wanted to do. And he's like,
yep,
go get the king. Go get the Edling king.
Go get him. Yeah, he like starts bossing people around when he gets there. Like, he's the boss.
Yeah, and she's like, oh, you're tired. You want to rest? And he's like, no.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Arthur had gone back to pick up the sword, and he comes in sort of after Gorfeth had walked in and started ordering people around. And I was kind of worried, actually. I was feeling some tension when Arthur wasn't there. I was like,
that's what
he's actually like bossing these people around. Like,
yeah.
It seems like these people are actually going to do what he says because Arthur's not here. I need Arthur to step in and lay down the law.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my prayers were answered.
Arthur, I really love the presence that Arthur has. How they just pan and he's just standing in the hall, and everyone's just kind of like, "Oh shit, that's Arthur down there."
It's a cool presence, and it's interesting because we've talked about how in the books we pictured Arthur as this big dude.
I definitely
picture he's
him
not.
Taller,
muscular, and the actor's not.
He's not.
Yet the way he acts and what he gives off is massive. It's and when even though he's standing there and his stature wasn't huge, it was still a cool shot. And it was like, oh shit, here he is.
And like that's like
yeah.
You could just tell that's what everyone was thinking. I was like, oh shit, like we're not gonna get away with this behavior anymore, you know. Or
Guess
like
what? That's exactly what Fetton said.
Yeah.
Not gonna get away with this behavior. But he still tries. He tries and he tries to provoke him. Arthur obviously is a little smarter than that.
You could tell he's getting to him because he keeps grabbing the sword, but then with his other hand, he puts a hand over the hand that's holding the sword.
He does. He's kind of bringing up things about his dad beat him right here, and really hitting a nerve with Arthur. Yeah, I like how he grips the sword. He's gripping that new sword that he had just gone to receive. And he's like, all right, well, Gunleus is still our prisoner. You know, like I let him out to come get you here. And Gunleus attacks. And Arthur pulls out what we assume is Excalibur, is supposed to be Excalibur. And it's that moment. It reminds me of another moment with a sword in another series or show or movie. Oh, it reminds me of Aragorn at the it has been remade. Moment.
And like when the ghosts come, like swing the sword,
and he blocks it. And he blocks it, and it's like that moment of like, holy shit! Like that hits our ghost swords usually go right through this.
Yeah.
Yet we're still somehow able to stab people and kill them.
That's what I was exactly but anyway though that scene was making remember me as something. Was making me remember. It was making me remember. It made me.
It reminded you of something,
but I couldn't pinpoint what it was. But yes, that's it.
That's right. What it was. Because there's that moment when Gunleus comes and Arthur blocks it with this new shabby sword that looks really shitty. Which he's cleaned off a little bit. The blade looks a little nicer now.
But it's still pretty rusty looking.
But it's still really rusty. It's a freaking moment. And even Arthur's like a little like, holy, like it just feels right.
Yeah, I didn't really understand what was going on there, but like they both kind of locked eyes, like what was that?
What is this moment we're having? You know? Yeah, it felt like a cool moment. Like this sword is something special.
Yeah.
And basically Arthur just whoops his butt.
But the thing, so he does that, and then Gunleus swings again, and this time when he blocks it, Gunleus' sword breaks.
It shatters
over his sword, and so he's just like starts crawling on the floor, and he just very slowly just gets his sword in position. And as he inches Gunleus crawling away up to Gorfefid, he just looks at Gorfefid and he's just like, you will bend the knee to the Edling, or I will take everything from you. And it's just like, yes.
Credits. I'm pumped. I'm freaking pumped.
I have to say, for as much as I complain about Merlin, and then how they're, as of now, they're leaving out big plot points of the British treasures, the things you need to be as good as Merlin, to be the great British druid. They are nailing the character of Arthur. I wish in my head when I was reading the books, and how he was described, Arthur's a really tall, pretty built dude, but still lean, athletic. So like this guy could get away with that. His clothes are different, but the guy's nailing the presence, and they're nailing the character from a writing perspective. Even the things that are different, his character still feels right on.
It feels right on. It feels like an Arthur. It feels like an Arthur. King Arthur type character. The guy
he's noble, but then, and that's what they describe in the books, is like he's noble and he's kind and just to everyone, but then like when it's time to fight, he's got like a ravenous like blood rage.
Blood rage, yes.
That's what I saw when he just had Gunleus. He was just like,
you're
in his world now. Like, all right, you swung now you're in his world, man. Like, and
Yeah.
that's they're just nailing his character so
It's
far.
nailing it. I love when he's on the screen. I love watching him, and this is another sort of defining moment for him to end the episode. So I would say all in all, we were worried that it was going to just be Arthur, but I think they're doing a pretty good job balancing it between Arthur and Durfel. It still feels like Durfel's the main character.
Yeah.
But Arthur is like a secondary, like he's also a main character. So I think they give Arthur a little bit more than they do in the books.
For sure.
Which is okay with me in this, as long as you keep Derval's story the driving force.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think the reason why they felt they needed to do that was because they're like, well, the general audience needs to see Arthur in this show or they won't watch it. If we just don't have Arthur in till episode 5, no one's going to keep watching our show from week to week.
And if you don't do the scenes that like Arthur's not in, like when Derval's not around like they do in the book, then you're not going to have much Arthur,
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool. Great episode.
Yeah, that moment we just went over, that's hands down my best moment from the episode. Totally. Bro moment, I'm gonna have to say when Durfel hides the kid from Owain there. That's bro moment there.
I would go with I'm gonna pick Morgan and Arthur's conversation in the beginning about the mom, even though she was good. That was cool because she was being honest with him. She wasn't doing it in a mean way. Like in the books, Morgan would be like, "Your mother hated you because you were a little twat."
That's exactly how Morgan, she would be. That's exactly.
Here, Morgan was like trying to be like, I was the one who did this all for you. Like, trying to just be real with him. And I like that moment between siblings. So,
and I guess I don't have a big issue with her being nice versus mean like she is in the books because really doesn't change like the plot really much or like
right because
but I wish she had the mask and I'm like, why can't we get the mask?
It's so interesting they decided to go in a completely different direction. Like, again, people who haven't read the books, she's hideous in the books. That's like who she is. She's like misformed or something. Like it's
and that's another reason like why Merlin likes to keep her around too, because he likes to like bring all the misfits to his place,
Yep. So yeah, that's the episode. Really liking the show.
Yeah, I'm liking the show, and like when we end with those Arthur moments, like we did in 2, and then episode 4 here, like it's
like give me the next one. Give me the next one.
Yeah.
I think it flows even at its slow moments. I don't find myself that bored. I wouldn't say it's as interesting constantly like Last Kingdom is.
Nah, definitely.
But
not a lot of shows are though.
But it also doesn't make me want to like look at my phone and be distracted. Like I still want to watch. And there's enough awesome moments in it to keep you interested. So I'm really happy with this show so far. It has me wanting to watch week to week. And although some things are different than the books, I think for the vast majority of the show, it is outweighing some of the things we don't like. I happen to think the show would be even better if you had done some of the things like from the book, like with Merlin, but it's not how they decided to do it, and we just have to live with that.
Yeah.
Anything else, Steve?
No. Like you said, pretty much all in agreement there. Guys, let us know what you thought of the episodes here. And then to if you like it, give us a like and subscribe. And we'll be covering the next 2 episodes here as we go, and then eventually we're going to talk Ahsoka. We'll get back in Outlander here at some point. And if you haven't seen our trip to Bebbanburg, make sure you watch that because that was a fun trip and a pretty solid video. Different than our podcast that we do, but it's pretty good.
Follow us next year when we go to Carrickadern.
Carrickadern. That'd be a cool place to see. I mean, it's just kind of like a rock. Like we would walk into a rock.
Yeah. All right, but thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you soon.
It's like we always say. Goodbye.
Bye.
This is all.
Sneasel.